Imagine being stuck in another country just days before a world championship match. No flights, no clear route, and your opponent waiting on his home turf. That's exactly what happened to Vishwanathan Anand in 2010. Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Ankit Rajpara here. Welcome to this special collaboration between ChessNeurons and ChessBase India. And to the very first episode of our new series, Chess Legends, the stories behind the moves. In this series, we go beyond the board and bring you the emotional, dramatic, and high stakes stories behind some of the most legendary games ever played. We begin with a champion who faced chaos even before making his first move. Vishwanathan Anand was set to defend his title against Vasilin Topalov in Sofia, Bulgaria, Topalov's home ground in 2010. But just days before the match, something completely unexpected threw his entire preparation off the track. And that nearly cost him the title. So, what exactly had happened? Please stay with me to know more. In this video, we'll look at two defining games from that match, Game 2 and the final game, Game 12. Let's begin with Game 2 of the World Championship 2010. And in this game, Anand had white pieces. So Anand started with a d4 and Topalov replied with knight f6. So Anand played c4, then e6 was played. Anand replied with knight f3. Topalov played d5. Now white has some options in this position. One is knight c3. And Topalov can play maybe d takes e4, bishop b4, c6, bishop e7. So basically Queen's Gambit declined, or the Slav, or Ragozin, some other line. And it's really important that before this match, Anand had not played the line that he is going to play that frequently. So it would have been a bit of a surprise for Topalov, and Anand chose the line, the quiet but solid and strategic Catalan. So he's going for no maneuvering game. There's a strategy behind that because Topalov is a very aggressive player. He likes to play for the activity. So Anand wants to slow down the game and wants to outplay Topalov. He chose Catalan. And in this position, Topalov replied with d takes e4, bishop g2. This is all theory. Then Topalov went for a6, not so popular move. So Anand's choice of Catalan might have been a bit of a surprise for Topalov. But when you are preparing for the World Championship match, you're preparing all the openings. So of course he was prepared for Catalan and he chose the line a6. Then knight e5 was played. So this line involves pawn sacrifice, but Anand was confident of his preparation and he decided to go for it. Then c5 was played, knight a3, d takes d4, knight takes e4, bishop c5. This is all theory actually. Castle, castle, bishop d2, just developing the bishop. At some point maybe the bishop can go to a5, knight d5, rook c1. So Anand is down a pawn, but as we can notice, his pieces are quite actively placed. So he definitely has the compensation for the pawn. Now, before I go ahead with this game, let me continue with the story of what had happened before this game. So, just before the start of the match, a volcano had erupted in Iceland, and all the flights in Europe were grounded. Because of the volcanic ash, I was covered, so it was just too dangerous for the flights to fly. And as a part of it, Anand got stranded in Germany. Normal circumstances, you would have just flown to Sofia for the World Championship match, but now, with all the flights grounded, he is in danger of not reaching the venue on time. So he requested for a short postponement to the organizers because, of course, it was not in his hands or he had anticipated that suddenly a volcano would erupt. But the organizers gave him just one extra day. And then what the team of Anand did was something unexpected. So they actually rented a small van and they decided that, all right, rather than waiting that maybe the volcanic ash would dissipate and the flights would resume, you never know when that would happen because that was unexpected. They can't wait. So they decided, okay, let's get on a small van and then travel to Sofia, Bulgaria. And then they travel by over 40 hours on road to countries like Austria, Hungary, and Romania. They even had to avoid some countries, for example, like Serbia, due to some visa issues. And but of course, the spirit was pretty high, and they even watched the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings in the van just to break the tension. And finally, they reached Sofia. And then it just seemed that the trouble of Anand were over. But that was not meant to be. In game one of the World Championship, Anand mixed up his preparation in Grunfeld from black side, and Topalov won the game. It was the first time in Anand's career that he started World Championship match with a loss. And you must remember, it was in Topalov's home country, and Anand had made it with such a difficulty, so many things going on, and he just lost the first game. It 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 was just unprecedented. But that's what the champions made of that. How they react under pressure. And currently, we are seeing game two. So Anand sticks to the strategy. He's not like, let me choose some aggressive line and then I'll try to outplay Topalov. I have to equalize the score. He's like, I'm going to play and I'm going to stick to the plan. I'm going to play the calm Catalan and then I'll play the game. So let's see how the game unfolds. So Topalov played knight d7 in this position. Anand avoids the exchange of knights. He's like, my knight will be able to do more with as compared to the Topalov's knight. Bishop a7 was played in the position. Then Anand played bishop a5. So in case b6 is played, then he's not complaining in this position because that is a provoking move, blocks the bishop's activity, and in certain cases, this square gets weak and Anand can later take advantage of it. So Topalov played queen e7 in this position. Then queen b3 was played by Anand, rook b8, and played queen a3. So this was actually novelty. So a normal move would have been rook fd1, just improving the rook's position. Anand has compensation for the pawn, but of course Anand would have seen something and he would not have preferred that. And then he went for queen a3. Not the most accurate move. Paulo replied with queen takes a3 and Anand played b takes a3. So he ruins his pawn structure, but basically he's thinking that maybe from the b file later on he would be able to create some activity, but it has its risk because the pawn is not on b2, so the square has gotten weaker. Now in this position, since Anand has piece activity, Paulo should have played the move knight c5, just trying to exchange some pieces, and he has a more pleasant position. But Topalov actually played knight f6. He's like, I want to keep pieces and then do something. Anand played knight e5. So now Anand has compensation for the pawn and then he's just trying to improve his pieces. Then just f4, he's strengthening that. 5 knight. Then a4 was played. Anand wants to play a5 and create some activity on the queen side. Topalov in this position stops it. So a better try for Topalov, because since Anand has the compensation for the pawn, it would have been just to play rook c8, just exchange everything, and then if knight c6 is bishop d6, and this is just about equal position, and the game should end in a draw. But Topalov was actually quite ambitious. He wanted to push for the win, and this is the story of the match. At times, Topalov was over ambitious, and that actually made things difficult for him, as we'll see. Then a5 was played, and played knight c6. Now his pieces feel more active, improved the other rook's position, and then in this position, he played the move bishop f3. He wants to rule out all these rook takes d3, e2 type of ideas or something, and then the bishop is flexibly placed. Another thing is an escape square for the king. Then g6 was played. He won the pawn. Now it's clear that Anand actually is not even down a pawn, and his pieces more active. Then bishop a7 was played, rook b3. Before Anand declines the exchange, he's like, my rook is going to be more active. Now he puts pressure on the a5 pawn. The game went on for a bit, but it was clear that things had gone wrong for Topalov, and so Anand is connected pass pawns on the queen side as well. He gives up one of them because he can just push that other pass pawn. He has rook behind that pass pawn, king f3, trying to capture that e3 pawn, d4, and then in this position, king e4 was played. This falls, and this is, or he can even go for this. And this is just game over. So Anand struck back immediately in game 2, and now the World Championship match was actually equalized. So, just to give you a bit of a background for this World Championship match, there are 12 games in this match, and we have just now seen game 2, game 1, Anand had lost, so now score is 1-1. And then it was a very close match till to the last round. And what we are going to do is we are going to see the last game. So the score before the last game, before game 12, was 5.5, 5.5, and Anand had black pieces. And let's see what happens in that game. But before we see the game 12, please consider subscribing to ChessBase India and ChessNeurons. So let's go ahead with game 12. As I mentioned earlier, Anand had black pieces. Topalov started with a d4. So in the earlier games of the World Championship, Anand had played Grunfeld, and even though he had lost the first game, but still later he got some success with it. But in this game, since it was the last game, classical game of the match, Anand wanted to play something solid. And he did not mind the draw, because if the game was drawn, then there would be rapid tie breaks. And we have to remember that Anand was, and in fact, Anand is one of the best quick time control players. So he was not afraid that Topalov would so draw the game and the match would go in tie breaks. So for this, he decided to play d5. He's going for the solid queen's gambit declined. Then Topalov played knight f3. Anand went for knight f6. So this is all solid, solid stuff. And then bishop e2, knight takes it. This is all theory, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. Then just b6. Anand's plan is pretty simple. He wants to get this bishop out, and he wants to go for the c5 pawn break. So it depends whether he should go immediately or not, but c5 pawn break is an important idea. Then Topalov played bishop d3, c5, all part of the preparation. And in this position, Anand played an idea that was not that popular, and he was prepared. He played the move knight f6. So it seems like, wait, is he giving up the pawn? He's not. He has his own ideas. So after d takes e5, the plan is knight takes e4, queen takes e4, and b takes e5. Now, it seems like a good position for white to be in, because black's pawn structure is not that great. But what happens is Anand has some activity this file, and Anand has the bishop for Topalov's knight. So the bishop will get here, and he can get some activity. Maybe the bishop can do something. So because of that, we can say this is a dynamically equal position. So there are imbalances for both sides, but the position is balanced because of that. And then in this position, Apollo played the move queen c2. He's like, I'll target the c5 pawn. Anand played the move bishop b7. Once again, Rook takes c5 is not possible. He's not blundering a pawn. This is quite a simple one actually. So if you want, you can pause the video and try to guess what Anand had calculated if rook takes c5 was played. So let's see. The point was bishop takes f3, g takes f3, and rook takes b2. And then queen takes c5 would happen, and black is just completely fine. Course, Topalov was not going to fall for that. He played knight d2. Now he wants to capture that pawn. Anand was not going to allow that. Rook f d8. Now this is a bigger blunder because there is rook takes d2. Then f3 was played. Bishop a6. Now, in this position, rook f2 was played by Topalov. Rook d7. So still just improving pieces actually. And g3 was played. Rook d8. King g2. And in this position, as I said, it's about equal actually. Both sides have their own advantages. Anand played bishop d3. Topalov played the move queen c1 and Anand played bishop a6. Basically, he's ready to repeat the position, and then the game would go to rapid tie breaks. But Topalov was ambitious. He wanted to win the game and then finish it in the classical portion itself. And then he played the move rook a3. Then bishop b7 was played, knight b3. Rook c7, he's just defending that pawn. Bishop a8, he's not going to give up the bishop. And e5 was played, e4, and now Anand starts to play ambitiously. Now he is putting pressure on Topalov. So Topalov should have played something like knight d2, just keep the center, and position is, I would say, more pleasant for black, but it's not too difficult for white. But Topalov played the move e takes f5. That is just too much. Now, can you... So, in this position, what should black do? The decision is not that difficult. It is to play e4, of course. So Topalov had not missed this. But after the game, Topalov told Anand that he had missed. We'll see what he had missed. So queen takes e4. He thought that the king would escape. Then rook e4. Knight e3. Topalov had seen this. But he told Anand that he had missed Anand's next move. And everything falls apart after that for Topalov. So the most critical moment of the match is here. And will you be able to find the move what Anand played? Please pause the video and make an attempt. So in this, Anand played the move queen e8, the backward queen move that decided the world championship match. So queen h5 is the mate threat, and now Topalov's king actually gets very weak. Anand played g5. He's like, I'm going to weaken the king even further. And things are actually just falling apart. Now Anand has a really nice threat. Rook e3, rook h4, and then queen g4, mate. And then the game went on. But so Anand had more than one way to win the game. But he chose this one where he wins material. He has the queen. And then, the game in this position. The queen is just too active. And then he won the b2 pawn, and then the queen comes back in defense. And in this position, Topalov actually resigned. So just an incredible win by Anand. He won in his opponent's country after a 40-hour road trip. After losing game 1, that is how a world champion wins. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments and stay tuned for more legends, more games, and more stories.